This is an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder.
The entertainment world has lost another giant. The city of Montreal has lost a homegrown talent, and Canada has lost one of its greatest exports. Christopher Plummer, the oldest actor ever to win an Oscar, died on February 5th at his home in Connecticut at the age of 91. I had the pleasure and honor of talking to the classically trained actor who was also the great-grandson of John Abbott, Canada's third Prime Minister. We spoke back in June of 1993. Here is a portion of that conversation now.
It's a pleasure to talk to you this evening.
Pleasure to talk to anyone talking from my town.
How many years has it been since you've been in your hometown?
No, I usually come up every year because I still have family, and I still have many, many old friends who live there. And I drive up from Connecticut, and it's only a 5-hour drive right from my door to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and I zoom up, and I pay a visit to everybody. So I come up hopefully twice a year.
Well, that's an interesting question. Where do you call home these days?
Connecticut.
Connecticut?
Yeah. I've been living in the States since the mid-'70s when I came back from Europe, because I've made that my home for a long time because of work reasons.
Well, we should mention right now we're talking to you from Toronto, and you're getting ready to do a one-man show, a word or two before you go, and it's as part of the Stratford Festival this summer.
Well, it's not really part of the Stratford Festival.
Or a benefit, I should say.
It's a benefit for them, and it's being done on the festival stage because they asked me last year if I would go up and play again, and I said I couldn't this year, but instead I would love to give them this one-man show to raise money for the theater, and they all very nicely said they'd love it. So here I am, and it's a show that I think is very suitable for Stratford. It's very entertaining, and it's filled with great and less great literature, and it's a kind of personal story of my own in which I play different characters along the way, and I use some of my favorite poems, and I talk some of my favorite prose, and it's all linked by my own story of growing up.
You actually wrote and arranged this yourself, did you not?
Oh, yes. I've done it 3 times before, and it seems to work like a treat, and I change it all the time because, of course, one gets new ideas. And wherever we do it, I put some local kind of feeling to it, like a story of the place. And I'll certainly have quite a few stories about Stratford stage. And I take it right through youth to old age and back again, and all the poems and prose that I've loved all my life, that I grew up with. So I was amazed when I finally was asked to do it many years ago, why someone else hadn't done it before. It turned out to be a very personal evening, and the audience is like that, because I think they get to know me.
What was the idea that initially brought this to the stage the first time? Well,
somebody in my local town, when I was living in Connecticut in the late 70s, asked me to do something for the town. They said, "You haven't done a damn thing for us yet. You've been living here for 5 years. Why don't you do something like give a lecture at the library and raise some money for some charity?" And I said, well, a lecture sounds awful dull to me, so let me think about it. And I thought, well, why not? Why not just do some wonderful stuff that I love to do, read poetry or learn the poetry and prose, and then write a little story to go along with it. It became bigger and bigger and bigger until it became a show.
Well, you've done so much in your career. You've done television, you've done radio, films, stage. Is there a preference that you have, or you just love doing it all?
Variety is the spice of life, that famous old saying, and it's true. I would hate to just do one thing out of those 4, because each feeds the other. The one I miss most, is, funnily enough, is radio, because that's a medium that I grew up in. I grew up in Montreal playing on both the French and the English network, and then I went to Toronto and played on the stage series with Andrew Allen, when radio in Canada was absolutely superb. It was their artistic identity back in the late 40s, and I miss that whole era. And I love so I've always loved words, and radio seemed to be the perfect medium for words, because you can imagine what the people saying them look like. I always thought it was such a powerful medium, and I miss the drama that we used to listen to all the time on the air. It's a shame it's sort of gone. Maybe one day it'll come back. I don't know.
Over your career, you've been one of those actors, when people think of classically trained actors, your name comes to mind, yet you have a very commercial aspect to your career, and you cross back and forth several times. There is no, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? No title one can, or area one can pigeonhole you in.
That's good.
Do you find that that's a problem sometimes, that when someone says, oh, classically trained or Shakespearean trained actor, that one automatically thinks somewhat stuffy?
No, well, they know me by now. They know that that's not true.
But I mean, do you find that it's a problem generally with the whole, like lately, Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson have just put out this new movie, Much Ado About
I
Nothing.
saw it the other night.
And it has brought Shakespeare to a whole new audience. And initially, when people were talking about putting this film on, there was a groan for some people, but people are really enjoying it. Do you find that what they're doing to a certain degree is bringing Shakespeare to everyone and making it more viable to the general population, for which it was originally written for in the first place?
Yes, exactly, and actually, what is doing them a favor is the fact that it's beautifully done. I've even preferred it to his Henry V. It is an absolutely beautifully done movie. It's young, it's attractive, it's sexy, it's everything that Shakespeare is and wrote about. It's only the dyed-in-the-wool people who always are afraid that Shakespeare is scholastic and heavy, and that's not true. And from going to the movie to the theater again, one of the reasons I like to do this evening of mine is to re-enthuse people, particularly young people, into showing them how entertaining great words are, and the fact that great language, is slowly becoming extinct with the terrible sort of introduction of computerized education and computer everything. We forget the great language that is our heritage, and the great enrichment to one's life that it does bring. And that's one of the purposes of this evening of mine, is to remind them what not only is it enriching, but it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Getting back a little bit to some of the more commercial work you have done, you worked with another great Montrealer a couple of years ago in a Star Trek movie.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
What was it like doing that? First of all, beyond the makeup, you had to go through a lot of makeup, I'm sure.
Yes.
But what was it like doing a Star Trek role?
Oh, well, I've always been a fan. I'm a sort of slight Trekkie myself over the years. I've always watched that show with great love, the early ones in the 60s, and then right through. I've always been a loyal fan of Star Trek. It was fun to get asked to do it. The director, whom I like very much, who I think did all the best Star Treks. I mean, he wrote the Whale one, which was number 4, and he directed the second one.
Irv Bennett?
No, Nicholas, damn, his last name. It just disappears from me in the moment. Nicholas, and he wrote and directed...
okay.
I'm sure you can get it for me.
Yeah.
He brought such entertainment. I thought that Star Trek 6 was the best of the lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was great fun to do, and it was great fun to introduce myself back to Bill again. We had good fun talking. I think our conversation had not stopped from when we left 36 years before. We just picked up where we left off.
When I told people I was going to be talking to Christopher Plummer today, walking through the building here at the station, the first thing that came to everyone's lips, they started singing Edelweiss. Has that song followed you through your career because of The Sound of Music?
Yes, of course it has. It's a bit of an albatross, but it's a nice albatross to have done because it was such a popular movie and still goes on being a popular movie. And, it's just sometimes a little bit tedious because you think of all the other things you've done, of quite meritorious stuff. Some people only know you from The Sound of Music, but at least some people are an awful lot of people, and that has helped in many ways. It helps sell the tickets in the theater. I'm very grateful to that movie.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that when they count box office grosses, there are a lot of other films, a lot of them by Steven Spielberg, that have racked up lots of money. But I think Sound of Music is still up there as far as tickets sold is concerned. And if you attribute $1993 to the box office back then, it would probably still be in the top 3, if not number 1.
Well, it could be. I suppose Gone with the Wind, you see, is still up there if you count all the tickets over the years. I suppose it is one of the top grossing films of all time. I don't know how many now, or what number it is down the list. I don't know. But that doesn't interest me so much as the fact that it does get a whole new audience every year because the kids go. And that's why it lasts.
And it holds up well.
Yes, it doesn't. It might be a little bit yellow around the edges, but it's kind of timeless, yeah.
Another thing that people know you for of late is the television series Counter-Strike, which is seen on CTV. How did you get involved with a television series like that?
Well, it was very nice because normally I'd never do a television series, but I couldn't resist the deal. It was only 40 days a year work. I came to Toronto for 2 weeks and Paris for 2 weeks out of the year. So So I couldn't say no to that, and I got very handsomely paid for it, thank you very much. And so I said, yeah. It didn't interfere with anything else I wanted to do. I could do movies, plays, whatever, and did. I'm sorry it's over because it was a lovely nest egg.
Is it over?
Yeah, it's finished. Canada is seeing the last year. They're a year behind USA and Paris and France. But it has been canceled, yeah.
Would you ever think of doing another television series?
Well, only if it really was unusually, exciting and good, because it takes, normally most television series take your whole life out of you. Your life is not your own any longer. It's devoted to going to the studio every day, and it's a killer. I was very lucky with Counter-Strike because it was such a short duration of time.
There is so much you've done in your career. Is there anything that you haven't done that you're still hoping to do?
God, of course. I mean, I could be very funny, but I can't afford to be at this moment. But, yeah, there are tons of parts I want to play. I also want to direct. I'm writing a book, which I've just begun. And I'm writing adaptations and concert versions of classics to music, which we've performed and recorded already. So I've got another world that I'm looking at, which is nice. I don't want to just do one thing.
Has there been any popular movie or television series or something out there that you've seen that you said, gee, I wish I could have done that?
No, I don't. I'm not a person who goes around crying over either spilt milk or dreaming of things I could have done. There are lots of things I want to do, and I will do them. And I've been very happy with my life. I think I've been very lucky. I've certainly enjoyed a variety of success. I think I count myself fortunate, my friend.
Well, you're obviously a very talented man, and I understand in a lot of cases the acorn doesn't fall too far from the tree. Your daughter Amanda has got a very good career going for herself, too. You must be very proud.
Yes, I am indeed. And she hasn't called me lately, so I know she's doing well.
Was there any hesitation as a parent in this business to see your own child go into the business?
Well, we were separated, her mother and I, and so I didn't know Amanda until I came back from Europe. I lived in Europe for 20 years. She was already grown by then, to an 18-year-old, and she wasn't interested in the theater at all, and suddenly she fell into it, I suppose because of us, her parents, and she started winning all the prizes. I thought, oh, my God, what monster have we all created. She won the Tony very young for her extraordinary performance in Agnes of God on Broadway, which catapulted her to success. It also made it quite tough for her because she had been given such high praise too young, I thought, so you always have to live that down.
Did she have to concern herself with the Plummer name? Did that open doors or close doors for her?
Well, I think it opened a few, possibly. But she was her own boss and her own personality. We certainly weren't responsible for her desires or her talent, and she was determined, and she got her role because she was unique and different. And I must say, when I saw her in that play, she terrified me. I didn't have any recognition of her as being my daughter or a family member. She was so good in it, and she was so foreign to me. I was terribly impressed with her.
Was there more anticipation before you saw her on the stage, more nervousness because she was your child than even when you went on stage yourself?
Oh, of course. Oh, God, yes. You take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I've been through too many disasters to know that. Yeah, I was terrified until she walked on, and then I totally relaxed. Then she terrified me in a different way.
Did she ask for any advice from Dad before she got into the business?
Yeah, I think she would have. We didn't see each other a lot because of our vast separation, and I didn't want to push suddenly Dad coming into the life, which is rather boring. And suddenly it would look like Dad was holding onto the coattails of her success. So I had to kind of be discreetly away from her for a while, and I stayed away on purpose. I have a feeling she would think I was hopelessly old-fashioned. I wanted to go on doing what she does without giving her too much advice. I don't think she needs it from me.
Okay, well, getting back to Dad for a few moments, you've made over 50 motion pictures. You just, I understand, completed a movie with the Oscar-winning director Mike Nichols.
Yeah, I haven't quite finished it. I have to go back and do one more week out in L.A.
The movie's called Wolf, I understand?
Wolf, yes. It's a sort of dark, very charming comedy, sort of a wild kind of comedy. It's got terrific cast: Jack Nicholson, Michelle Pfeiffer, Kate Nelligan, and Prunella Scales, Eileen Atkins, myself. It was a wonderful group of people. And Mike, of course, I've worked with before. As I know, he's a friend and is a brilliant director. So I hope to God this will be a big success.
And when will that be released?
Heaven knows, it's a huge movie. I never know. It's either Christmas or next spring, one or the other.
Well, that's great. Do you prefer a genre? We've already discussed whether you like the classics as opposed to more commercial work. Do you have a preference between drama, comedy?
No, there's no preference. I mean, they both all help each other, when you do a comedy, you put some drama into it to break up the monotony. When you do a drama, you try and be as funny as you can. I love all commercial and classic, contemporary and classics. You must do them all, otherwise you get terribly stereotyped.
Well, you've had a very long career that has seen a lot of great work. Not that I want to jinx you in any way, shape, or form, but how would you like to be remembered?
Oh no, I don't answer that question. I've heard that question so often, Peter. I have refused to answer that question.
Okay.
One could be funny and say, as a rake. That's as a terrible rake. That would make me happy.
Christopher Plummer will be known for being much more than a rake. The Oscar, Tony, and Emmy winner, who is also a companion of the Order of Canada, has left us at the age of 91. He will be missed.
You've just heard an exclusive excerpt from the Stuph File Program with Peter Anthony Holder. To hear any or all of the full hour-long shows, visit thestufffile.com. Stuph is spelled S-T-U-P-H. That's thestufffile.com. A presentation of Flying Fish Communications.